The bank notification arrives at 11:43 on a Tuesday night. You're already in bed. You weren't going to check your phone. You check your phone. The balance is $4,211. You stare at it. You've never had $4,211 in your account before. Not all at once. Not sitting there like it belongs. And you actually know that this is nothing. You know what a Sydney rent inspection costs. You know what happens to that number in 3 weeks. But for 11 seconds, in the dark, with your phone screen the only light in the room, you feel something. Not rich, not even close to rich. Just less afraid than yesterday. You don't know it yet, but that feeling has a name. You just haven't earned it yet. This is what becoming rich in Australia actually looks like. Level 1, the minus sign. You're 22. Your transaction account with CommBank has a number in it that begins with a negative sign. Not a large negative, not a dramatic negative. $47.80 in the red, because a $6.50 flat white hit the account the morning after your rent direct debit cleared and the timing was wrong by 4 hours. The dishonor fee is $15. $15 for being 4 hours late. You reckon that's fair, and you also know it doesn't matter what you reckon. The penalty for being broke is that you become more broke. You move $60 from your savings to cover it. Your savings account has $60 in it. Now it has nothing. You tell yourself you'll rebuild it by Friday. You don't rebuild it by Friday. Your payslip arrives, and you do the thing every person at level 1 does. You open it, you pay the things that will hurt if unpaid, and then you count what's left. You count it like a word problem. If rent is this much and groceries are that much, and the minimum on the zip is this much, then what remains is yours. What remains is $114. You don't tell anyone the number. You don't need to. Everyone at level 1 has learned the same performance. The one where you're fine, you're sorted. Payday's just around the corner. Your coworker suggests drinks after work on Thursday. You say you've got plans. You don't have plans. You have $114. Your mate Jordan shouts the first round. Jordan always shouts the first round. You've never once seen Jordan check the tab. Level 2. The first time you have a buffer. Something shifts. Maybe you got a pay rise. Maybe you picked up extra shifts. Maybe you finally put $200 away and didn't touch it for 2 months. Which sounds ordinary and is actually the hardest thing a person can do when they're at level 1. You have $2,000 in a savings account. ING, 5.5% for the first 4 months. You actually Googled it, compared 4 accounts, felt slightly ridiculous doing it, and did it anyway. You feel something when you log in that you don't have a word for yet. Not confidence, just the absence of a specific kind of dread. The dread that fires in your chest every time an unexpected bill arrives. Here's the part nobody tells you. $2,000 is not a financial milestone, it's a psychological one. Below it, every expense is an emergency. Above it, emergencies become inconveniences. That's the whole difference. And it costs exactly $2,000 to cross it. Jordan's got a new car, Hyundai i30, finance. You know because Jordan mentioned the repayments twice at lunch, the way people do when they want you to know they can afford something. You do the maths in your head. You don't say it out loud. You eat your chicken schnitzel and nod. You get your first ATO notice. Your HECS balance is $21,400. It indexed 7.1% last year. It's now $22,919. You didn't borrow this new amount. Inflation borrowed it for you. You sit with that for a while. The payslip comes every fortnight. You've started reading it differently. Not just what hits your account, but the line that says HECS repayment, $94. Every fortnight. Gone before you see it. You didn't choose this. The system chose it. Money is not the game. The system is the game. You're just learning the rules. Level 3. The $100,000 delusion. You earn $100,000. You tell nobody. Australians don't announce these things. But somewhere inside you, a version of yourself from level 1 whispers that you made it. 6 figures. The number that used to feel like a destination. Here's the part nobody tells you about crossing 100,000. It doesn't feel like getting rich. It feels like finally becoming average. Payday lands on a Wednesday. You open the CommBank app in the Woolies car park. Not because you're worried, just because you always do. $72,300 a year after tax and HECS. $6,025 a month. You've memorized the number the way you memorize a train timetable. It doesn't feel like yours because by the time you see it, it's already halfway gone. Rent is $2,200 in Melbourne's inner north. Groceries, the gas bill, the Telstra plan, the servo on the way to work, another $1,400. What's left is $2,425. You say it slowly in your head. $2,425. You open the calculator. You type in 780,000 Melbourne median. You type in 20%. The deposit figure comes back, $156,000. At your current savings rate, 7.5 years. In 7.5 years, the median price will not be $780,000. You close the calculator. You don't open it again. You open the payslip instead. You used to scan straight to the take-home. Now your eye goes somewhere else first. HECS repayment, $94. Super, $611. Gone before it was ever yours. You used to read that section as subtraction. Now you're not sure what to call it. Jordan texts you on a Saturday arvo. Just went unconditional on a place in Reservoir. Mum and Dad chipped in for the deposit. Super stoked, mate. You type back a thumbs up. You mean it. You also feel something that isn't jealousy, more like looking at someone who got a different set of rules and didn't notice. This is the level where something quiet breaks. Not dramatically, not with tears, just a slow recalibration. The number you chased was real. The life you thought it bought was a story from a different decade. You got the salary got eaten. Level 4, the year you actually save. You don't know it yet, but this is the year that builds everything. You just won't see it for a decade. You move somewhere cheaper, or you negotiate a raise, or both. You set up an automatic transfer, $800 a fortnight into a high-interest savings account the morning your payslip lands, before you can spend it on something you'll forget by Tuesday. You set a reminder on your phone so you don't forget. You've never once needed the reminder. You just don't want to find out what happens when you do. By December, you have $19,000. Nobody celebrates this with you. It's not the kind of thing you announce. You screenshot the balance on the last day of the year, you send it to nobody. Not because you're hiding it, because nobody would understand what that screenshot cost. Then in February, your washing machine dies. $600 for a replacement. Not negotiable, not deferrable, just gone. 3 years ago, that $600 would have taken 2 months to recover from. It would have unraveled something. You'd have put it on the zip and felt the familiar weight of it for the next 6 months. Instead, you open the CommBank app. You transfer $600. You close the app. You go back to eating dinner. You almost miss the moment, but you catch it, just barely. The transfer you made without flinching, is what wealth actually feels like from the inside, not the balance, the flinch that isn't there anymore. Jordan mentions the card debt again, just once, in passing, $22,000. It's fine, Jordan says, everyone's got it. You don't say anything. You open a brokerage account. You buy $3,000 of VAS, an ASX ETF. You read about franking credits. You don't fully understand them yet. You buy it anyway. The money is in the market. Something has started that can't be unstarted. The penalty for waiting is the same as the penalty for being broke. Time leaves. Level 5, when the number starts moving without you. Your portfolio is $41,000. You didn't add $41,000, you added less than that. The market added the rest. You understand compounding intellectually. Now you understand it somewhere below that. Your super balance crosses $80,000. You increased your salary sacrifice contributions by 3% 18 months ago. The balance is building in a place you can't touch until you're 60, which used to feel like a punishment and now feels like the only savings account that's ever actually saved you from yourself. You earn $118,000. Your lifestyle has moved with it. The restaurants that don't have prices on the menu outside. You used to clock that. You used to think it was a different world. Now you're in it and you still clock it. Habits from level 1 don't disappear. They just go quiet. You buy your first property. Not Sydney, you couldn't. Maybe Brisbane, maybe outer Melbourne. You put in $94,000. The savings, the first home buyer scheme, and a loan from your mom that you'll repay in exactly the terms you agreed and not $1 less. The repayments are $3,100 a month. You can afford $3,100 a month, You can afford it the way a rope bridge holds, technically with nothing to spare. The pay slip arrives on a Thursday. You don't open it immediately anymore. You know what it says. You know where it goes. There's something almost boring about it. And boring, you've worked out, is what stability feels like from the inside. You never knew that. You thought it would feel like more. Jordan moved to Perth sometime last year. Mining sector. Good money, apparently. You haven't spoken properly since. You don't miss the friendship exactly. You miss having someone to measure against. And then you catch yourself thinking that, and you're not sure what it says about you. Level 6. The number that should feel like enough. Your accountant sends a summary at the end of the financial year. You read it at the kitchen bench with a coffee going cold next to you. Property equity just under 200,000. Super crossed 160,000. The employer contributions from a decade of payslips compounding in a place you've never been able to touch. Shares at 51,000. Cash buffer at 9. Total net worth $400,000. You sit with that number for a moment. You feel nothing like what you expected to feel. Not ungrateful, not numb, something more specific, like arriving somewhere you'd been navigating toward for years and realizing the map was always slightly wrong. You're here, you're genuinely here, and the horizon didn't move. You feel the mortgage, you feel the body corporate fee, you feel the strata levy that went up 18% this year. You feel that your property is worth $190,000 more than you paid for it, but you can't eat equity, you can't pay school fees with equity, and if you sell, you still have to live somewhere. Imagine this, you're earning more than your parents ever did. You have more saved than your parents ever did, and you still can't buy the same house they bought at 32. Not in the same suburb, not anywhere close. Pause. Think about that. This is the level nobody warns you about. The number you spent 15 years building toward produces something that isn't what you imagined, a kind of vertigo. You got here, you looked around, you don't know it yet, but this is not the end of the road. This is just where the road stops being visible. Level 7. Quiet. You're not announcing anything. You never did. Tall poppy syndrome is real and old and woven into the culture, and you absorbed it young enough that showing wealth feels physically uncomfortable. Your car is fine, your clothes are fine, you live in a suburb where the houses are modest and the supermarket is Coles. What you have, a property that's paid down, a super balance that will probably sustain you, a share portfolio that pays franking credited dividends into your account twice a year, and a savings buffer that means a $4,000 emergency is an inconvenience and nothing more. What you still feel, that you should have started earlier, that the number should be bigger, that something was missed somewhere, in a year you can't identify, in a decision you can't reverse. The payslip still comes every fortnight. You barely look at it, not because you don't care about money, because money stopped being the emergency and became the background. That's the whole game. Most people never find out what the background feels like. The hunger was the engine. The engine is quieter now. You're not sure what drives you next. Somewhere right now, someone is checking their CommBank balance at 11:43 on a Tuesday night. They're in bed. They weren't going to look. The number has a minus sign, $47.80. A flat white they forgot was scheduled. They feel something shrink inside them that has nothing to do with money. They don't know it yet. Nobody told them the number keeps moving. Nobody told them that feeling less afraid than yesterday is as close as most people ever get. Nobody told them they'd spend 30 years building toward a feeling and the feeling would stay one level ahead, always just out of reach, always just enough to keep going. They think this is about the number. It's not. It never was. One day, that $4,211 becomes $40,000, then $400,000, and somewhere along the way, not at any specific number, not at any specific level, they'll do something they've never done before. They'll put the phone down without checking the balance. Not because they forgot, because they didn't need to. That's the feeling they were chasing all along, not the number, the first night they went to sleep without needing to look.